Late at night, the skies over Donetsk lit up, not from fireworks, but from fire. A powerful explosion ripped through the Russian-held airport, followed by a secondary detonation, so massive it shook the city. Ukraine had just confirmed what many suspected, a precision strike on Russia's Shahed drone base, the same drones that once terrorized Kiev's skies. And that wasn't all. Hours later, oil refineries in Volgograd and fuel depots in Crimea erupted in flames. This wasn't random, it was a message. Ukraine can now reach deep into Russia's war machine. On the night of November 5, 2025, explosions thundered across occupied Donetsk, a city that's been under Russian control for nearly a decade. But this time, something was different. This wasn't another artillery exchange or a random drone hit. It was a surgical strike, the culmination of months of intelligence work and reconnaissance. Ukraine's general staff confirmed it the next day. A base of storage, assembly, and launch of Shahed-type UAVs was struck, and what followed was described as a powerful secondary detonation. That phrase, secondary detonation, is important. It means whatever Ukraine hit wasn't just a warehouse. It was packed with explosives, fuel, or drones ready for deployment. According to Madyar, commander of Ukraine's elite unmanned systems forces, also known as the 414th Brigade or Madyar's Birds, this was no lucky shot. He said the operation was the result of a painstaking months-long reconnaissance mission. That unit, Madyar's Birds, has become a legend in Ukraine's drone warfare. They specialize in deep reconnaissance and precision targeting. And this strike added a major entry to their so-called kill board, a list of destroyed Russian assets that reads like a hit list of Moscow's drone empire. The target? The Donetsk airport, a symbol of both Ukraine's pre-war ambitions and Russia's occupation. Once envisioned as a major international hub, it's now a fortress, a logistical nerve center for Moscow's Shahed operations. Unverified Ukrainian sources claim the strike destroyed up to 1,000 Shahed-type drones and 1,500 warheads. Social media videos show fireballs lighting up the night sky and multiple explosions, consistent with a facility packed with munitions. Russian authorities, as usual, denied the scale of the damage, but their silence in the immediate aftermath spoke volumes. Telegram channels loyal to Moscow showed chaotic footage, flashes, smoke columns, and emergency crews racing to the scene. The Ukrainian General Staff later stated that the mission involved not only missile and artillery units, but also the unmanned systems forces, suggesting a coordinated, multi-domain strike. This operation was part of a broader Ukrainian strategy, one that's evolving rapidly in 2025. Rather than just defending the front lines, Kiev is systematically targeting Russia's deep logistics, production, and launch infrastructure. The Donetsk airport strike is part of a broader Ukrainian strategy in 2025. Deep, targeted strikes against Russian logistics and industrial infrastructure. Each Shahed drone destroyed reduces the threat to Ukrainian cities, from Kiev to Odessa. Each facility eliminated slows Moscow's ability to carry out nightly aerial attacks. One Ukrainian analyst said it bluntly. This strike didn't just burn a warehouse, it burned months of Russian production, planning, and storage. By hitting Donetsk, Ukraine demonstrated intelligence sophistication, operational precision, and strategic intent, signaling that the battlefield is no longer confined to front lines. While Donetsk burned, another strike was unfolding hundreds of kilometers away in Volgograd, deep inside Russian territory. Ukraine's general staff confirmed that its forces had struck one of Russia's most significant oil refineries, operated by Lukoil, and set off a chain of explosions and fires. The refinery processes 15.7 million tons of crude oil per year, accounting for 5.6% of all refining capacity in Russia. In other words, this facility isn't just another industrial site. It's a critical artery supplying fuel to Russia's military operations and contributing substantially to Moscow's war budget. Residents reported flashes in the night sky and heard air defense fire, while local authorities confirmed damage to residential buildings and the death of one civilian, a 48-year-old man, struck by shrapnel. Ukraine's long-range drones and missile forces carried out this operation, highlighting a growing capability, hitting vital Russian infrastructure 450 to 500 kilometers from the front line. This isn't just about inflicting immediate damage, it's about disrupting Russia's fuel supply chains, slowing down logistics for troops on the front, and imposing operational costs on Moscow. This attack shows a shift in Ukrainian strategy, combining tactical destruction of weapons with strategic disruption of resources. The Donetsk strike eliminated drones. Volgograd disrupted fuel, slowing down troop movements, artillery resupply, and offensive operations. A Ukrainian analyst summed it up. Striking Volgograd wasn't just about the refinery. It's a message: nowhere is beyond Ukraine's reach. By targeting both the tools of war and the fuel that powers them, Ukraine displayed a strategic, multi-layered approach that forces Russia to defend beyond the immediate battlefield. As the explosions shook Donetsk and Volgograd, Ukraine's operations extended southward to occupied Crimea, a region Moscow has long claimed is untouchable. Overnight between November 5th and 6th, 2025, Ukrainian forces struck 3 fuel and lubricant depots near Simferopol and Hvardiyivsky, inflicting serious damage to the infrastructure that supports Russian operations across southern Ukraine and the Black Sea. The Ukrainian General Staff stated the operation aimed to reduce the enemy's logistical capabilities. Residents reported hearing explosions around 2:17 local time, with visible plumes of smoke rising above the depots. At Hvardiyivsky, tanks and tanker units on a loading platform were destroyed, while in Simferopol, 2 fuel bases suffered fires in their reservoirs. These strikes had multiple strategic effects. Logistical disruption. Crimea supplies Russian forces in Kherson, Zaporizhia, and southern fronts. Hitting fuel depots slows operations, forces rationing, and delays movement. Naval impact fuel for the Black Sea Fleet was affected, threatening operations in Sevastopol and surrounding ports. The psychological effect. Ukraine demonstrated that even Crimea is vulnerable, challenging Russia's narrative of invincibility. The coordinated strikes in Donetsk, Volgograd, and Crimea reveal a triangular operational pattern, hitting Russia's drones, fuel supply, and industrial infrastructure simultaneously. This demonstrates intelligence, planning, and technological sophistication, allowing Ukraine to strike multiple strategic nodes in one night. As a Ukrainian official explained, defense forces continue to carry out a set of measures to destroy critical elements of the aggressor state's military-industrial infrastructure on its territory and in the temporarily occupied areas to deprive the enemy of offensive capabilities. The Crimea strikes show Ukraine's growing precision drone capabilities, able to penetrate defended airspace and hit multiple targets autonomously. Strategically, they cut off the lifeblood of Russian forces in the south, limiting armored mobility, artillery supply, and overall operational readiness. To understand the significance of Ukraine's strikes on Donetsk and Volgograd, we need to look beyond the explosions and fires. These weren't random targets, they were critical nodes in Russia's war machine, and taking them out has both operational and strategic consequences. The Donetsk Airport Shahed base served as a storage, assembly, and launch site for Shahed-type drones, the very drones Russia has used extensively to strike Ukrainian cities and infrastructure. Shahed drones, originally produced by Iran and known in Russian service as Geran 1 or Geran 2, are relatively cheap, long-range, and effective for swarm attacks. They've been used to target critical infrastructure such as power grids, causing blackouts, ports, disrupting logistics, urban centers, applying psychological pressure. By destroying the Donetsk hub, Ukraine eliminated ready-to-launch drones, weakening Russia's aerial harassment campaigns. It disrupted local assembly and storage operations, creating logistical bottlenecks. It delivered a psychological blow. A facility that Moscow considered secure had been penetrated. This highlights another key point: Ukraine's intelligence and operational capability. The strike wasn't a hit or miss. It was a targeted, precision operation informed by months of surveillance, likely combining satellite data, human intelligence, and drone reconnaissance. The Volgograd Refinery, operated by Lukoil, processes 15.7 million tons of oil per year, roughly 5.6% of Russia's total refining capacity. Its importance cannot be overstated. It provides fuel for the Russian military, including vehicles, armored units, and aircraft. It contributes to state revenue, which funds the war effort. Damage to this refinery directly affects logistics on the front line, slowing troop movements and artillery resupply. The refinery is also symbolic. By hitting a high-value target deep inside Russia, Ukraine is demonstrating long-range strike capabilities, showing Moscow that its rear areas are no longer safe. When considered together, the Donetsk Shahed base and the Volgograd Refinery strike reveal Ukraine's emerging deep strike doctrine, targeting both tools and fuel of war, destroying drones and the fuel that powers armored and air units, creating operational disruption, bottlenecking Russia's drone deployment while slowing military logistics. Psychological warfare, demonstrating that Ukraine can strike at frontline and deep strategic targets alike, forcing Russia to stretch air defenses and resources. These strikes are not just tactical wins, they're strategic statements. By targeting critical infrastructure and supply nodes, Ukraine is showing that it can shape the battlefield beyond the front line and undermine Russia's ability to sustain long-term offensive operations. To fully grasp the impact of Ukraine's strike on Donetsk, it's essential to understand what the Shahed drone is and why it matters so much in this war. The Shahed drone is an Iranian-designed unmanned aerial vehicle (UAV), originally intended for reconnaissance and precision strikes. Russia has imported these drones to supplement its air campaign in Ukraine, where they are known under the designations Geran 1 and Geran 2. Key features of the Shahed drone: range, up to 2,000 kilometers, striking deep into Ukrainian territory. Payload, around 40 kilograms of explosives, enough to damage infrastructure or armored targets. Cost, cheap and deployable in swarms, overwhelming defenses. Deployment, launched from occupied territories like Donetsk, Tatarstan, or Bryansk. Destroying the Donetsk hub eliminated stockpiles and assembly lines, disrupting Russia's drone production cycle. A Ukrainian defense analyst explained, destroying the Shahed base didn't just remove drones from the battlefield, it disrupted the supply chain, the assembly, and the entire launch cycle. It's a multiplier effect. The strike demonstrates Ukraine's ability to neutralize strategic aerial threats, protecting cities and infrastructure from continuous attacks. In just one night, Ukraine struck deep into Russian territory, from Donetsk to Volgograd to Crimea, hitting drones, refineries, and fuel depots. These weren't just explosions, they were a message. Ukraine can see, reach, and dismantle the machinery that fuels Russia's war. The Donetsk Shahed base is gone. Volgograd's refinery burns. Crimea's depots are disrupted. And Moscow knows it. As one Ukrainian official put it, defense forces continue to carry out a set of measures to destroy critical elements of the aggressor state's military-industrial infrastructure on its territory and in the temporarily occupied areas to deprive the enemy of offensive capabilities. This is more than strategy. It's a turning point. And one thing is clear: Ukraine's reach now extends where Russia once felt untouchable.